How's it going, everybody? And welcome back as always to Continues to Tick. Before we get too deep into this video, two things. One, I'm under the weather a bit, so this is going to be a shorter video. Two, to save you from having to hear the sick voice. And you know what the sick voice is. You hear it. I know you know what yours sounds like. This is what mine sounds like. So in order to save you guys from having to hear 20 minutes or so of sick voice Jesse, we're going to do about 10 minutes. I'm going to aim for 10 or less, somewhere around there. But friends, here we are once again. I continue to show up to the mat. This is consistency. Time continues to happen for us regardless. This dividend portfolio, being a dividend investor, the key to it is leveraging time, showing up to the mat consistently. But friends, as you saw by the title, here we are with the monthly dividend portfolio review now for February 2024. And as always, if you've been here before, I'm going to go into more detail than my normal every other week videos. I'm going to dive into more of a portfolio update, how much I fund my portfolio and how often. I'll tell you guys my sector allocations and percentages. And along with that, I'll explain some of my best and some of my worst performers per each sector. I'll tell you guys my number of current holdings, the current dividend portfolio's yield, what is my expense ratio, and some of my current short and long-term plans for the portfolio, and of course, how much my dividend portfolio currently pays me in dividends. Here we are in the Jesse's cash flow portfolio, all time at $77,935.66. I thought you were investing only $100 a week. Yes, you are correct, friend. That is still my current funnel rate, $100 every single week. So we'll knock that question out the way here from the start. And I only say that because for my other videos, we continue to climb, and that's just how the markets are moving. And I think specific to one particular holding, which also happens to be the topic for the video, is how I handle an overweight holding. But friends, all time we're inching closer to that 80K mark, and that makes me happy. And as far as sector allocations go, real estate is my highest sector, allocated at 13%, followed by consumer staples at 12%, ETF at 10%, and so on and so forth. They continue to decrease as we go down here. And let's switch to all time, and let's go back down. So tech, best performer at 257%, energy at 80%, financials at 73%, and the rest are pretty normal. And as far as the ones that are in the red, communications is pretty flatline. Real estate is actually fairly flatlined at -3%. Utilities is the same. And the only one that I would say is truly in the red is healthcare at -14%. But friends, we're not going to avoid this tech here, this 257%. The topic today is talking about overweight holdings. We'll get to that here in a second. Let's continue down the list here. I told you how much I fund, I told you my sector allocations, my number of current holdings, my dividend yield, and my expense ratio. So here we are in the Jesse's cash flow. A little bit of the data is showed here. So as far as my holdings, I have 51 total holdings. My dividend yield is 3.351%, and my expense ratio is 0.01%. All of these numbers are here if you're curious. And as far as my short and long-term plans for this portfolio, friends, my short term is just to continue to stay consistent. That is always my first and foremost short term, is just to continue to fund and continue to have a frequency that works for me. Lately, I've had to readjust my funding schedule to $100. I was trying to do $150, but I got a job promotion coming up here on the horizon, which is also, oddly enough to say, a pay cut. So I do have to take a pay cut for this job promotion. As a side, just quick story, I do work as an RN in a prison. So who would have thought that they paid you more by working in a prison? I already knew that. I knew that I'd get paid more by working in a prison. Well, my next job isn't working in a prison, it's working from home, and I'm looking forward to it a lot. So for me, it was worth taking a pay cut in order to kind of advance my career in this other pathway, and then also get to work from home as a nurse. I'm looking forward to that next opportunity. But because of that, I'm always trying to be smart and on top of my finances. I already started to pull back a little bit, and taking $50 off my weekly funnel is where some of that haircut happened. That's a short term, right? Just staying consistent, continuing to invest, trying to reach 100K for the dividend portfolio. Those are the short term goals. The long term is just to always find that pathway for me for early retirement comfortably. I still want to try to retire fully at the age of 50 to 52 at the latest, and the keyword is comfortably. That is my long-term plan. So I have a pension working for me as I work for the state. I have this dividend portfolio. Eventually, maybe I'll get over the hump here sooner rather than later, but a big part of my goals is to eventually get into real estate or create a side hustle, or both, right? I have a male nurse mentor program going on YouTube as a side hustle. I'm hoping to cultivate that into something that will eventually be something that generates money. I'm kind of playing with it, putting a lot of energy into that, and I'm hoping that will happen sooner rather than later as well. So as you can see here, friends, $77,935.66. This is actually one of the very first times it matched up exactly the same. This is a div tracker app I've gotten from the App Store. It is the app that I use to just keep track of my dividend payouts, keep track of how much I'm getting paid annually, monthly, daily, and my dividends, right? But as you can see, friends, it's the same amount. Let's move over to the annual dividend income here. It's $2,355.63. That is pretty awesome. And as far as my monthly, it's $196.30, which is pretty respectable now. And my daily is $6.45. It is probably enough for, I'd say it's enough for maybe a very cheap coffee and sandwich somewhere for breakfast. But if not, at least like a decent coffee at a nice place. $6.45. And as far as my dividend yield, it's 3.02% according to this div tracker. And I believe it was 3.3 actually on M1 if I can recall. So it's somewhere in between that. I always say that, somewhere in between. So just keep that in mind. And friends, let's go down to this here. So how do I handle an overweight stock position? I'm just going to show you rather than tell you. This is where we'll go into that tech sector we were talking about. So here we go, we're on all time. So for me, friends, and maybe some of you have known, boom, Nvidia, it continues to just pop off. This for me is a 908% return. This is one of those golden opportunities that as just investors in general, we kind of land upon every once in a while. Maybe you have one for yourself, one of those success stories, one of those fun moments, right? Picking a stock and it just having to just pop off, right? Nvidia is that holding for me. I'm sure you have a holding like that for you. And now the downside is it's very overweight, right? The positive, it's 908% in the green, but it's now overweight, right? So how do I handle an overweight holding? So there's different ways to look at it, but ultimately you have to look at it yourself, right? In your current situation. For me, Nvidia and my portfolio, it's all a very long play. Nvidia is one that I believe in, so for me, I've always planned to hold it in my portfolio. So a lot of that, it doesn't change. So for me, I'm just going to keep it in place. Yes, it's overweight. Yes, it's just so unbalancing my tech sector here, but it's one that I believe in. It's one that I'm not going to touch, and it's one that I'm just going to keep in play and let it ride. Whatever happens, happens. They might do a stock split. They just did one some time ago, and maybe it'll balance itself out. One thing that I learned over time, friends, is you have two choices. You can change path, adjust and pivot, or you can look at it like if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? Nvidia is not broken. I'm not going to fix it. I'm just going to leave it alone. Back when Tesla was booming, I also caught that wave and I sold too early, right before the stock split even was announced and before it continued even more, right? That is something I've always regretted since this day. So every time I see a Tesla, I'm like, man, I'm just going to let it ride. I'm in no hurry with this dividend portfolio. Whatever happens will happen, and it's fun for now. And I also don't pay too much attention to it. I just saw more recently, dang, why is my portfolio actually going up so fast? And I was like, it's probably Nvidia. And then I looked and I'm like, it's Nvidia. They had like a very great earnings call. But friends, that's going to be it for this video. A little bit of a shorter one. I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I still had to show up to the mat. So, apologies for my voice. This is the sick Jesse voice. But friends, sometimes it's just about showing up to the mat And just understand that this is a quiet journey. It's happening for me in the back end. There's not many people I could tell this to. You guys are the only people I really get to talk to about this journey. And I imagine you have similar experiences for yourself. But as always, friends, enough with the ramble. I will see you in 2 weeks, and my voice should be better by then. I should be feeling a lot better by then. And of course, take care.